relationship love, family love, mother, son love. Like, I'm realizing how important that is. Like, just to become successful, I had to, like, in my mind, I had to, like, just put my head down. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not calling my mom as often. You know what I mean? Like, it's like my family, my brothers. Like, man, I'm blessed enough to have these people alive and well. It's like I want to better those relationships. You know what I'm saying? Because those are the rewarding things.
1000%.
Ultimately, that's the answer. Love is the answer. All that stuff we talked about earlier that depressed us and gets me worked up. Ultimately, the answer to all of that is like love. If we were, as a people, as a world, if we would just embrace that, that would be the fix. If I looked at you, I don't know you, but I was like, man, I love you because we from the same. You black, I'm white, you black. It's like, but we're in the same. We're just human beings. We brothers. You know what I mean? I love you. I ain't gotta. But it's all the stuff that messes up that message. I feel like we're gonna evolve there one day. If not, then I ain't gonna. I'm gonna quit talking about it. Because if it's gonna be like this forever, half and half, like, you know, the world is always messed up if you look at it this way, or it's great if you look at it this way. If it's always gonna be like that, then it's like I'm wasting my breath because you can't change it.
You're never wasting your breath because if you don't talk about it, then how does the change ever happen? You have to try. You always have to try. Right. You can't give up.
Oh, I feel you. But sometimes I wonder, like...
Yeah, but giving up is never the answer.
Not give up. But sometimes I wonder, like, is the world always going to be like this in some way, shape, or form? Like, even though it may change in appearance, will it always be good and bad, top and bottom?
It may.
Boom, boom, boom?
It may or may not. But let's say you don't change the world, but let's say you change the world for 100 people. Is it worth it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so then you don't ever quit.
Word.
Right?
Yeah. There we go, Angie.
MLK Jr., Nelson Mandela, Eric Fromm, Bell Hooks, J. Cole, even Alicia Keys. People, philosophers, celebrities all over the world for years have been talking about this one concept that we call love. And even then, it's such an abstract term that I feel like people are not really able to even define. And to be honest, I think that that's kind of a good thing. Although, unlike something such as like masculinity, where I feel like it should be undefined, I do believe that love should be defined in a certain way, not necessarily limited, but defined in a very nuanced fashion. According to the dictionary, for example, love is an intense feeling of deep affection and great interest and pleasure in something. Obviously, I don't think that love can be distilled just directly into that by itself. I feel like there's a whole bunch of things that love entails, which, you know, hopefully we'll be able to go through at least a little bit of that throughout this video. Even in some of my previous videos, like I talked about how the Greeks had 8 different ways of loving, or 8 different words to describe different aspects of love, such as like agape and ludus, philia, stuff like that. So I feel like oftentimes we have to understand that love is not something that can be easily understood, at least in its entirety. But there's a simplicity, there's a simple root to what love is that I think at the end of the day, if we're able to just grasp that small concept, then it could honestly, literally change the whole entire world. The problem is, I feel like a lot of people just don't get it. So the late Bell Hooks says that love is not just a feeling, but it's also an action. And I think that that's big. You know, some people in the past have tried to only distill love to only a feeling. And then some have said, like, no, love is not a feeling. Love is a choice. You know, love is an action. And it's like, I think that actually it could be both. Just like we said, we shouldn't necessarily distill it down to one thing. I think that love is a feeling. We all feel love. We can feel love for someone, and we feel it when somebody loves us, if we're open and receptive to it. But at the same time, I also do believe that love is an action. If you love someone, then when the person that you love is about to get hurt in any way, shape, or form, then you will have this impetus, this inclination or proclivity to try to protect that person. If your child that you hopefully love is about to stick their fingers in a socket, then you're going to leap, you're going to yell, you're going to do something to protect them from themselves. In the same sense, I think that love, when you have that feeling of love, then we go to far extents. People always talk about how love makes you do crazy things. And to be honest, I think that that's definitely true. Even when we think about Jesus, whether you believe in him or not, at least the tale, if you will, of what Jesus did, dying for everybody's sins in that nature. I think that that's an example of love. That's an example of him doing a crazy thing, which according to Christian doctrine and theology, God loved the world so much that he sent his only begotten son from heaven to live 33 years on earth. He lived the perfect life, and then taught for 3 years. So at the age of 30 he taught. That's when Jesus started his ministry, and he was spat upon, he was beaten and all of that, and then he was hung up on a cross. He didn't have to do that, but he did, because at least according to Christian theology, he loved us. So that's even, once again, another thing, how love makes you do crazy things. Even stuff like Hercules, another thing, whether you believe in it or not, he replaced himself with Meg in the pit that Hades had for her. So when you really love someone, when you feel that enough in you, then it also eventually pushes you into action. And I feel like that's one thing that Bell Hooks was really going for. So we can already see the things that love can do, but why do we have such a hard time expressing love? That's the issue. I think that first and foremost, people have had such a hard time, especially in the past, like with men, for example. Anything that has to do with mushiness, being affectionate and expressive, all right, enough of this hugs and stuff like that. It's almost like love was just not cool. When you bring up the word and you start talking about it, people start thinking that you're being hippie-ish in some way, shape, or form. And I feel like that's part of the problem. That's part of why we have so many problems in our world right now, because we lack love for one another. We may love certain people, but we don't have an agape type of love, a love for you as a human being, as a fellow human being, as my brother, as my sister. If we had that kind of love, racism wouldn't even be a thing. It would just be eradicated. Because if you really love someone, even if you don't know them, you would not, if you loved them just because they were a human being, then you would not even have the notion to judge that person as inferior to you. Even when it comes to homophobia, if you really loved, I don't care what your faith is, if you really loved people, you would not judge them, you would not criticize them in a manner that would make them feel inferior, You would not make them feel like they're disgusting or grotesque in some way, shape, or form. Because imagine doing that to your own son, to your own daughter, to your romantic partner, I feel like these are all things that if the world had more of, then we would not struggle with. There's so many things that we would not struggle with. If you truly love someone, and this one goes for certain people, because I know couples, for example, who truly do love each other, but they still have problems with this, and that's speaking in a certain tone and with tact, for example. I believe that if I truly love my friend, then I'm going to deliver whatever that I have to say to them with tact. I don't want to hurt my friend's feelings. Does that mean that whatever I'm going to say, I'm never going to hurt their feelings? No. But like I say in many of my videos, tact to me is not necessarily withholding the truth. It's still delivering the truth when necessary and if necessary, but you're delivering that truth in a manner that's going to be palatable for the person. You're delivering it in a way that shows the person that you really do care about them, that even if the truth itself might hurt that person, your delivery is what's not supposed to hurt the person. So a person can only judge your delivery, but they should not be able to judge the content matter. And then on top of that, we also have a duty or a responsibility, at least in my opinion, to assume the best intent of people. I see people all the time on Twitter, and it saddens me. You know, they will disagree on things, which is okay. There's a lot of things that I believe many of you guys would disagree with for me, and I disagree with you on that, and that's all right. You're still my brother. You're still my sister. I'm still going to treat you with love and respect. I don't even think of you as stupid for this, for things that, you know, we may disagree with. It's just a difference in opinion due to culture or due to upbringing, due to different ways that we just think in general, due to our environments, whatever it might be, due to the information that we've been given. It doesn't matter. To me, you're still a human being, and I want to always assume the best intent of people that I'm engaging with. So I'm always going to try to give them benefit of the doubt. I'm always going to try to believe the best intentions of them, and I'd hope that they do the same thing for me. But I think that that's the problem. A lot of times people don't give benefit of the doubt. They don't believe the best intent of other people. One of the biggest problems that I'm seeing today is that when we are engaging with each other in a debate, in a discussion, stuff like that, if you disagree with me and I get heated, for example, then defensiveness starts to come up. And to me, defensiveness will cloud rationality sometimes, or at times it'll just be a block for understanding of each other. I think that if all discussions, if all interactions, if all engagements are enshrouded in love, and again, I'm not even trying to be on some hippie stuff, but it's just the truth. Like if we really treated everyone with a certain level of respect and overall just care, giving that extra energy to tact and to paying attention to our delivery, to listening to them, to understanding where they're coming from. Okay, you think this thing that's so wildly different from what I believe, but why do you think that? I want to know, because I don't think that you're stupid. I think that you have a reason to believe what you believe, and I want to know why you believe it. And even if I disagree with it, at least I can understand your point so well that now I can argue it for you. And if someone were to make fun of you believing whatever you believed, then that would cause me to have an action to want to defend you, to come to your aid, to argue on your behalf, even though I don't agree with what you believe. Because once again, you're my brother, you're my sister, and I want there to be understanding. I think that love produces understanding. I really believe that it's vital that we start to assume the best intentions of other people until they actually give us a reason to have bad intent. So the moment that we start feeling ourselves getting defensive and wanting to combat people and attack people rather than their ideas, rather than things, and if we don't give compassion and empathy to try to understand where people are coming from, then we're always going to be causing just more conflict, sowing more seeds of discord, and that's not love. I think that if we operate in love, if we operate from a place where it's like, hey, I don't believe that you have ill intentions to try to actually offend me, to try to actually hurt me, to try to actually, rile me up. So that being said, because I'm believing the best intentions from you, even though what you're saying is triggering for me, I really want to try to understand why you think that. And maybe I can even help you understand why it triggers me. And we can come to some kind of agreement, some type of understanding. I feel like love is so much more powerful than what we already believe it to be. I really think that it is. I mean, I feel like that's why all the greatest religions and prophets, they speak about this force, this love. Like, that's what they speak of. Even in the Bible, it says that God is love. I feel like our understanding of love is so limited and love is so vast. And if we don't take the time to better understand this concept of love, and not just understand it, but then also learn how to put it into action, how to get people to feel our love, to feel loved and understood. Like, if more people felt love, they wouldn't go suicide nearly as much. They wouldn't start trying to shoot up movie theaters and stuff like that nearly as much. They wouldn't start killing people at gas stations. They wouldn't. Love would solve so many problems. And I feel like we withhold this great weapon against violence, against malice, against evil, so that we can remain macho and tough. I don't know, I find it to be a little bit corny, personally speaking. So I wrote down some ideas on how we can probably do better when it comes to love. One of the first things that I want to make sure that we understand is that there are different types of love. Like I said, y'all should go check out my Greek language video, and understand the different types of love. It's not just romantic versus platonic. There are different things. You can literally have, like, for example, platonic dynamic that's laced with erotic, eros. And then you can have, obviously, you should have a romantic dynamic that's laced with and imbued with eros, that type of passion. But then you also have, like, ludus, and then once again you have, like, philasha and pragma, learning how not to just fall in love, but to stand in love. Agape love, to be able to love everyone simply because they're a human being. I think that is so important to be able to understand, and to understand, like, to get the nuances of what love really is, and all the different forms that love can show up as. So I feel like that's one thing that if we learn to understand that the nuances, and at least understand there are nuances to love, then that could already be something that we're doing better. I think also it's important for us to understand that others may be just hurting, and honestly, not in an insulting way, but they may be ignorant. Ignorant in the sense that they're probably unaware. That's all that they know. And we should, once again, believe the best intentions of them and forgive them. There's a question that I used to ask a lot of my Christian friends, which was pretty much the idea that, what if somebody killed your mother? Trigger warning, I guess I should have said. But yeah, what if somebody killed your mother, got away with it for years, and then came back to you, and they found you in secret, and right before you could even say anything, they're like, hey, I just wanted you to know, with tears in their eyes, saying that I am so sorry for what I did to your mother 5 years ago. I have lived with that guilt for the past 3 years, because 3 years ago, I got saved. I became a Christian. And honestly, you're the only Christian that I know. You're the only person that I know that loves and follows Jesus. And I know that it's probably a very tall request, but I just wanted to know, number one, could you forgive me for what I did? And number two, could you help me to learn to become more like Jesus? In my mind, and I don't want this to be tested, but I'm pretty positive that in that type of situation, because of the love that I'd have for that person, I wouldn't even see them as the person that they were before. They probably don't even see themselves as that person anymore. Of course, there's still justice that would probably need to be served or whatever, but if it were up to me personally, if the judge said, do you want to press charges and put this person in jail, whatever, I'd be like, no, I feel like they're already in a prison on their own. If this person's really remorseful for what they did, then their prison's already in their head. They already feel bad for what they did. What more to put them in a jail to rot a few years more, They're already always going to forever feel bad. And yeah, I won't get my mother back, but throwing them in jail like that won't make me happy either. Not unless if they weren't remorseful, that's a different story. But someone who's really remorseful and has a contrite heart, I just can't turn away from that. And I feel like that's that empathy, that's that love, that's that compassion. Knowing that back then they really just didn't know better. There's a friend of mine who I used to really I did not get along with her. We fought so frequently. We would bicker and all of this other stuff. And just over the past few years, we've become really, really, really tight. Like we don't fight ever anymore. And I'm like, wow, okay, this is amazing. And just last week, I actually profiled her. I had a really deep, in-depth interview discussion with her. And she pretty much revealed some stuff about her mother, like how she views her mother. And the way that her mother treated her and the way that she described her mother, all of a sudden made me think like, whoa, this is exactly how I would have described you just a few years ago. So that's crazy. And then it made me start again to wonder, like, wait a minute, I wonder if her mother also had a parent or parents that treated her like that and so forth. Like, how long does this chain go? Who's gonna break it? Are you? I feel like that's love. Trying to understand, where is this coming from? You probably don't even know any better. Your mother probably doesn't even know any better. That's all that she knows. And just like you, that was all that you knew until you were given love to the extent that you were given, and you were able to then try your hardest to change your ways. I feel like love is that powerful of a thing. I also feel like we have to start thinking long term. Violence and aggression rarely imbues lasting peace. Rarely. I'm not going to say never, but I feel like very rarely does it imbue lasting peace. We've heard it. When you fight fire with fire, all you get is just a forest fire. You're not going to, things are not going to grow in that. Does that mean that we have to be mad soft and doormats and all that? No. If anything, I feel like love is strong. To love people is to be strong. And I feel like when we really embrace that power, that strength to love, which, funny enough, that's actually the book that I'm reading right now by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I highly recommend y'all read it. I think that, I feel like just the philosophy of love in general is just absolutely beautiful. It's just absolutely wonderful that everybody should take the time to try to decipher, to understand for themselves at one point. But yeah, I think that it takes strength to love. And it's not easy to be attacked and poked and be faced with such malice and ignorance, even violence at times, and not retaliate out of anger. Does that mean that you don't defend yourself? No. You still defend yourself. You still defend those that you love. But to retaliate with aggression and anger and all of that, I think that's where we need to be careful when we play that card. We have to think the long term. If it's to protect ourselves, cool. But if it's just, to say something back and to upset people in a way, I feel like that's not right. I feel like that's stooping down to their level. It's not going to teach them the right thing. It's not going to teach them the power of love itself. It's just going to continue to sow more seeds of discord and strife, chaos. So we have to really understand the long-term consequences of aggression and violence. And I think that lastly, a good thing for us all to understand is that we're all one. Love others as you'd love yourself, or as they'd like to be loved. I think that when we come to a point where we understand this concept of we are one, we are humanity. We are unified, whether you're black, whether you're Arab, whether you're white, whatever, we are still human beings. And at the end of the day, even with our differences, we still got a heart. We still have, hands, deformities and stuff like that, excluded. But you know what I mean. Like we still have a heart. That's pretty much the biggest thing, both physically and emotionally. I just wanted to drop this video because I've been wanting to talk about love on this channel for a long time. I mean, correction. I feel like I always already talk about love on this channel, but I talk about different aspects of it, like the Greek loves and then love languages, which is another thing. Like, learn how to love people the way they'd want to be loved. Like I said, love language, like learn how you want to be loved, but then also learn how other people want to be loved. And trying to understand other people, that's the whole reason why I got into typology, stuff of that nature. I really, really feel, guys, that we need to love each other. We need to love each other more than we ever have. The last thing that I kind of want to end this with, which is a video, once again, I'm always alluding to this, and this is why I made this video. I wanted a video that would just fully encapsulate everything that I pretty much say about love. So I made another video, once upon a time, talking about loving people while they're still alive. Because at the end of the day, like, it's just, it doesn't matter. So I made a thread once upon a time, and I said, I really do think about death a lot. I can't help it. Several times a day, my mind goes, who in your life could die today and you then feel like you didn't give them enough view? Show them how much they meant to you. How can you change that before it's too late? Do it. Who are you having unnecessary quarrels and beef with that all of a sudden wouldn't matter if they were hit with a stray or corona stopped their heart instantly? Is there anything you could do on your end to squash that? Do it. Who in your life would be in question of where they stood with you and how much you cared about them if you died suddenly today? How could you bring them to realization now while you're still alive? Do it. Numerous times a day, these thoughts flow through my mind. They're the root of my intentionality, of me refusing to feed into mindless bickering, of me avoiding being petty or returning rude remarks. Just no energy or time for it. It's meaningless in the grand scheme of things. When I keep this in perspective, I find that even when those I engage with do not, there's still a heightened level of appreciation and peace, even during bad and hard times. Guys, I hope that this was not too cheesy, corny, whatever for you. But if you made it this far, we're in 2022 right now as I make this video. I'm really, really encouraging y'all to be more loving, to practice more love. Watch this video again if you need to. Share it with a friend. Tell them I love you. Stop being corny, y'all. Tell people that you love them. Even if that's all that you know, how not to say it, just say it. That saying those words is already a big step. Learn to just say it. I love you. And then when you're able to say it, also show it. I think that we need both. It's not just a feeling, it's an action. And I'm asking y'all to take action as I try to do the same. So that's the wave that I'm on this year. I feel like I've always already been on this wave, but I just want to set this intention forth that this year, especially going, I'm all about love. I really feel like it's powerful, y'all, that it can change things. My word is bond. So leave any comments, questions, concerns that y'all might have. And done. Hey, I just wanted to briefly thank you for taking the time to watch this video, whether it was on regular speed or 2x speed, whatever it was. Just thank you for consuming the content. And around me, you should be able to see a few little buttons and logos for other recommended videos, because, you know, I make good content, new ones, but then I also have some really good old content too that you should probably check out. But make sure that if you really like this video, feel free to subscribe, to share. It really helps this humble channel to expand and reach more people and ultimately help more people. So once again, thanks for watching, and hope you have a great rest of your day.